Check it out. This is my impression of Scott Conn holding a violin.
Intro phase. Okay, I have no idea what I'm saying, and also we have a heat wave, so my house is as hot as sin, so I just want to get to the video. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about American Dad, or more specifically, Akiko Yoshida. Now, a frequent topic in my Steve videos is the idea of his horrible love life, because Steve can never bag a girlfriend or get laid, or both. With the video I did on him and his father, we went over how Steve is, in many ways, more like Stan than the show cares to admit. As in, he can be a real creep to women, and that's why he has such trouble trying to bag one. And when it came to Debbie, I said that he had a tendency to put her on a pedestal and not respect her wishes, which to a girl like her, or to most girls for that matter, is incredibly uncomfortable and kinda clingy. But I'm sure y'all have wondered, is there a girl Steve should have ended up with? Yes, Toshi's sister, Akiko, who, unlike her brother, is bilingual. I'm not saying it's bad. It actually is a talent, and it's good for employment, especially something like Japanese. I mean, like, everybody can speak Spanish, but not everybody knows Japanese. I only know like 2 words.
What? Why do you only speak Japanese? I don't even speak Japanese.
I like the pair, I like their chemistry, and I feel like they would make a great couple. But there is just one problem. Oddly enough, a problem she has in common with Debbie. Akiko is exclusive to the Fox era, and hasn't made any significant appearances in the TBS era outside of normal cameos, which sucks because she would fit right in with the zany wackiness that separates the future from the past. On top of that, I feel like she has the same problem as Pearl from SpongeBob, where she always appears just because she relates to one character. Like, there's never an episode where it's just Steve and Akiko. It's always Akiko and her brother. Even Spelling Bee My Baby, when Akiko got the most focus out of all of her episodes, Steve and her met because he wanted to go have ice cream with Toshi.
Hey, Toshi. My mom's taking me to get ice cream. Want to come with? Hi, Akiko.
So, let's discuss. Now, one flaw I'm not really going to discuss is the age gap between Steve and Akiko, even if, to be fair, it is a massive retcon. Akiko first appeared in American Dream Factory, like that mall in East Rutherford that really needs a train or a shuttle. Steve and his friends are trying to start a band, but they can't find a drummer. Roger auditions under his new persona of... okay, I'm sorry. I can't say it without laughing.
I'm Krispy Kreme McDonald's.
I'm sorry, Roger. I know you make up these ridiculous names for your personas, since you likely do it on the fly, but how did you come up with this one? I need to know. Did you just get hungry? Did you see a random name generator? Like Post Malone? Are you Post Malone?
My Krispy Kreme mama got by my McDonald's daddy.
Oh, well, there goes my theory. Steve, of course, doesn't want Roger involved in the band, for obvious reasons. Even if he has natural talent, what would being an alien?
I don't have any bones in my arms, which makes me a natural on the drums. Plus, I love music, Steve.
So Steve suggests their first choice.
I think we should go with our first choice, Toshi's sister, Akiko.
Nice foreshadowing. But Steve, you frickin' creep, what's with you and little kids? She's like a kid, like that kid you beat up. Wait, not like, is. Still, the boys go with Roger, since as an adult, he's able to get them contraband.
I'm thirsty from rocking it so hard. Who wants a Smirnoff Ice and some bootleg Ukrainian?
Thank God Daddy Queerist had Roger realize why it was bad to buy kids booze, or at least for kids you don't know. Not nudie mags, though, so I guess baby steps? But Akiko is obviously upset, so her brother gives her some advice.
お前な、生地を見せてたら、さすがの酒もそこまで魅力には感じなかったのによ。
Damn it, Toshi. Roger, of course, doesn't listen to Steve and tries to issue the commands. Because remember Jenny from the block? Steve is just as much of a control freak as his father.
This is my band, so we're gonna do what I want. If you don't like it, we've got Akiko waiting in the wings.
Dude! But at least Toshi is being a supportive big brother. Still, Steve isn't supposed to like her until she drinks from the tainted river water that is called Langley tap water and ages up to be a teenager. Which, wait, before we go any further, I kinda wanna know, how old is Akiko supposed to be? After this episode, she gets aged up to her normal state. Again, my theory is tap water, but maybe in universe she's so smart that she skipped a couple of grades? But no, she couldn't have if she looks this radically different. But I guess we should take Steve's age into account. Steve at the start of the show was 13, then 14, and even if he should be 15, the show ignores that or just forgets he's supposed to be aged up. Maybe they're using that puberty serum, which would mean Toshi is 13, 14 around there since he and Steve are in the same grade and they grew up as friends. So is Akiko 12 if she skipped grades? Is she like a little older than that? Are her and Toshi like Irish twins or something?
You're overthinking it!
Fine, I'll stop. Let's just say, okay, for the sake of this video, we'll say Akiko is 13, aka young enough where it won't be weird, and she'll have a reason to be in high school, and a reason to associate with Steve. Are y'all cool with that? Are you good? Trust me, it won't be like when I said that Planetina and Morty was okay. It was totally two different shows. I do still think they should have drawn her more like a teen, and just used the ageless excuse, but eh. Okay, let's move on. Akiko makes her first proper appearance in Wiener of Our Discontent, now fully aged up and in high school. Ugh, the wonders of tap water. At lunch, Steve steals Toshi's chopsticks and does a racially insensitive routine where he pantomimes a walrus.
Look at me, I'm a walrus.
Stephen Anita Smith. That was racially insensitive. Roger taught you well. Of course, Toshi is pissed that Steve is disrespecting him and his culture, along with his joke not really being all that clever or funny or original, so he decides to respond back. But as we know, Toshi doesn't speak English, for reasons. Depends on the episode. So he storms off. Oh, he's coming back.
No, he went to get his sister.
Oh, hey, Akiko.
You know, I want to know how this whole combo went. Like, did he go to her and say in Japanese, like, "Sister, Steven used our grandmother's chopsticks. I need to use you as a translator," like in West Wing, right? Wasn't that like what Marley Matlin did in West Wing? I don't know. Is it like streaming? I want to watch that show. Toshi, via Akiko, lays it out to Steve why he's upset.
俺はこいつにマジキレてんだよ
Toshi is greatly offended. Those chopsticks were carved from the femur of our great-grandmother.
Ugh, gross!
Ah, you deserve it, Steve. But it's her femur, it's not like it's her pelvis or her clavicle. However, yes, this isn't something the show made up. In a lot of Asian countries, chopsticks and the like were carved from bone. Bone was actually the most expensive material and something only the rich typically did. So yeah, it's good that Toshi is regularly using his chopsticks and honoring his grandma at the same time.
I had Japanese great-grandma once. I had the Shintos for a week. Thank you!
Akiko says that to make up for being a jerk, Toshi is issuing a challenge. Steve will go to Toshi's house and pick a challenge, and the loser will switch to the later lunch period.
俺か素直に謝れ
Unless you care to apologize.
What? Apologize for being hilarious? Never!
Very well.
I mean, I would, but I've been told I apologize too much. Not on YouTube, but in real life. And I don't even do it on purpose, it's like a tic. Steve, of course, is Dan's son and refuses to apologize, meaning challenge accepted. But I want to point something out. During their argument, Akiko slaps Steve to make a point.
Akiko, listen.
Do not interrupt これは俺とお前の勝負だ
Which I don't know if Toshi told her to do it or if she just did it herself because Toshi would do it if he could. Although considering this point,
それももう終わりだからな
Until now, Toshi has stoically tolerated your boorish jokes. But no more.
yeah, I like to think he told her, but does anybody like speak Japanese able to translate what he said like this whole episode? Because I really don't know. But Steve actually gets excited from the slap.
Anyone else get a
Fish.
when Akiko slapped me? Me neither. Gotta go.
Huh, I guess they were laying the seeds for their relationship, and it didn't come out of nowhere. That's good to know. But anyway, Steve refuses to say he did anything wrong, so he goes to Toshi's house to play along and pick a challenge. Unfortunately, all the possible challenges are in Japanese. I don't know if Toshi is just that dedicated, or if he was trying to give himself an advantage, like he knew that Steve wasn't going to be able to read any of them. Like, what if Steve asked Akiko what they said? Would she have to tell him? Kitty, what did we say about overthinking? I'm sorry, I get curious. Steve eventually picks a challenge, the most comically stereotypical of all Japanese challenges.
So it is chosen.
Wait, what did I choose?
Hot dog eating contest.
Whoa!
Darn, built a fat theory. But joking aside, I was curious what the characters on the thing actually meant. I don't know what you call it, I'm sorry. I guess card? But I don't know Japanese. So I went down a teeny tiny hour-long rabbit hole. I used a normal translator app and I found a bunch of different versions, cause I guess they couldn't interpret it from the picture. Two-tone, gu, netoshiru, hot top, hantu hombre. I thought either they were just using gibberish because unfortunately a lot of cartoons do that, or it was meant to be an inside joke. Like how Dan Weber in All About Steve was named after a writer. I thought maybe like Net Toshiru was one of the animators or something. Then I put the picture into Google Translate and it translated to hot dog. Huh, if that's true, that's a really good detail. I also tried a bunch of other websites and the same thing came up. Out of curiosity, does anybody know if that's what it really said or what the other card said? I'm just generally curious, and that was the closest I got, and I wasn't able to make them out. But Steve trains very hard for the hot dog eating contest. Roger is in a depression, so we can't just use him in his place. And I gotta admire the dedication.
Only hot dogs until the day of the showdown.
Ooh.
Thanks again for teaching me how to tame my gag reflex.
You're welcome.
I wish I could do that. Wait, what? Well, so this means two Seth MacFarlane's sons have entered hot dog eating contests. Guess if I had a nickel for each time this happened, I would have 2 nickels. And I can't buy crap with 2 nickels. But just for context, Roger ended up working at a hot dog warehouse to give himself a sense of purpose. And he was given a crate of poisonous hot dogs, aka death dogs, to dispose of.
Anytime I want, I could let out some bad wieners.
Where do you keep these alleged death dogs?
The last place you would ever think to look. No, don't look in the fridge. They're not in there.
But to feel like he's in control of something, he keeps them with him and hides them in the freezer. Unfortunately, he does it in the downstairs freezer, and he doesn't mark them or tell anybody about how dangerous they are. So Steve and Francine accidentally take them to the contest. Stan finds out just as the contest is about to begin, which encourages the pair to make up, if only because they're about to die.
Forgive me?
死ぬ前に謝られちゃ許すしかねえだろ
Toshi is honor-bound to accept a deathbed apology.
Goodbye then, dear Toshi.
Aww.
Oh, wait, false alarm. I still have my death dogs.
Aw, but at least they made up. But why did they not use the death dogs?
Oh, Toshi's mother insisted on using the hot dogs she bought.
They would have killed our children.
I'm sorry, dear. I don't understand what you're saying.
Wow, this episode really felt like a cornerstone for them to lay for later episodes. Like Steve being attracted to Akiko, or Francine and Hiko hating each other. So does Hiko hate Francine because she's just a naturally hateful woman who looks down on anybody who isn't her? Or did she hate her because of how racist she was in this scene? Because she was pretty polite when we next saw her. And does Francine hate her because she was raised by a Chinese family, and stereotypically and somewhat historically, I really have no idea, I don't want to spread any misinformation, the Japanese and the Chinese don't really get along? I'm not overanalyzing, I'm just putting forth my ideas. Oh, so you're racist ideas? Okay, if you don't like them, just track me down and burn a giant lowercase t on my lawn for time to get serious. Still, Toshi does use Akiko as a translator one more time in Shallow Vowels.
He's putting on the finishing touches. Ooh, the muses have taken him!
At least until Best Little Horror House in Langley Falls, where she gets an upgrade. Heck, not only did the tap water cause her to age up, it even gave her a new voice actress. Up until this episode, she was voiced by Grey DeLisle, or Grey Griffin, which I'm sure a lot of you guessed since she has a very recognizable voice. But now, she's voiced by Grace Park. I don't know if it's because they wanted her to have a bigger role, and therefore wanted the character to match the ethnicity like the rest of Toshi's family, family. Albeit, to be fair, Grace Park is Korean, not Japanese, and she primarily grew up in Canada, or if maybe the original voice actress didn't or couldn't come back, so they just recasted her. Anyhow, Halloween, my favorite holiday, is here, and being an immature brat, Steve and his friends are trick-or-treating. I really shouldn't talk. I trick-or-treated until I was 19. My last Halloween, I even took a shortcut through a cemetery. Maybe that's why I'm so scared of cemeteries. But anyhow, Steve and his friends go to pick up Toshi. Unfortunately, Toshi doesn't want to go because it means wearing a samurai costume. I'm sure he would rather wear a salmon suit. And before you say anything, his mother bought it for him.
I bought Toshi a fun samurai outfit, but he's too stubborn to put it on.
お決まり事はやらねえぞ
But Toshi, this is your heritage.
So, like, would this still be cultural appropriation in that case? Because I have no clue whether or not I should be offended. Akiko was disappointed because he promised his sister that he would take Akiko trick-or-treating, and Akiko is all grown up and dressed like Street Fighter. Guess unlike her brother, she doesn't mind indulging in cultural stereotypes, right? I really know nothing about Street Fighter, I'm sorry. And Steve notices.
I'm gonna boner.
What?
No, I mean, yeah. You can come, more the merrier.
The guys agree that Akiko can go with them, but Toshi has a stipulation.
で、日没までに連れて帰ってこいや
He wants you to protect me and have me back by sundown.
No, he's looking out for you.
Damn, Toshi, that's hella strict. You know it's October, right? Like, it's sunset at like 4:30. That's like saying you want her home in 5 minutes. But sunset does come, and Steve says he'll bring Akiko home.
Guys, go ahead. I'll walk Akiko home.
Where are you going? My house is this way.
I know, but we're having fun.
Steve, you lying liar. But Akiko agrees with him, feeling like her brother is too overprotective.
That sounds great, but Toshi said I had to be back by sunset. He's super protective, Steve.
I mean, you presumably watched this whole video. You know Toshi well.
た抜いたらこの刀血を味わわずにはいられねえ
Oh, so now you want to wear the weirdo, I don't know if it's cultural appropriation samurai costume, don't you, Jack? Am I allowed to say Jack? I just meant like Samurai Jack. I thought that's why they called him Jack. Steve and Akiko learn that Toshi is gonna kill Steve, like he's gonna kill Bill. All because he forgot to bring Akiko home on time.
Oh my god, Steve and Akiko!
How do you know our names?
Toshi's looking for you too.
Oh no, Toshi's furious.
Which I guess I might complain that it's just Toshi being overprotective, but he does know Steve personally, and I'm sure he knows how Steve is a horn dog. I think he was less pissed about the fact that Steve broke his promise, and more so that he's afraid Steve could potentially try something on his little sister. And considering how young Akiko might potentially be, yeah, even if I disagree with his methods, I kind of understand how he's feeling. The two spend the night together, hanging out, and actually having fun together. They swim, they find a nice spot, and they talk. But then, they find Toshi. He tries to kill Steve, all because he forgot.
覚悟妹と日没までに帰るんじゃなかったのか
Dude, I'm sure you have a cell phone, you can't just call him. But Steve counters.
Do it! Kill me! Because that's what you're doing to your sister!
Oh, he's got a point.
She's not a little girl, Toshi. She's a young lady.
Yeah, it's like she aged practically overnight. Seriously, I'm surprised this never got like a hand wave or anything. Toshi agrees that he's been a real jerk and allows Akiko actual freedom to be a person. What? And Akiko is so glad because now she can officially date Doug. Wait, what? Who the hell is Doug?
Doug? But Doug's 9!
He's a really nice guy. And Doug can dance.
Ew, just no. Like, they can't just be like the same age or say like, oh, he's a kid from my class or something. Dude, please, this one really hurts. Like, normally with American Dad twists, like I said before, there's usually some kind of foreshadowing to them. But this just comes out of nowhere, just so Steve can be single. So, like, it actually hurts a lot this time around. And it sucks because there could have been a hint or two. Like, earlier in the episode, the boys are talking talking about going to Vince Chung's bonfire, which is where we meet Doug. They could have dropped a hint about him there, like, hey guys, I heard there's this kid named Doug, and it piques Akiko's interest. And then at the end we find out Doug is a little kid, which would still be gross and really kind of a double standard, but it would work as a twist. Like, I really feel for Steve here. He did nothing to sabotage himself or anything.
Strong family bond. You know what this says a lot for? 2-parent homes. Let's stay together, people. Let's work it out.
Okay, you know what, Steve, you a-hole? Not standing right there. And also me. You know what? Maybe that is karma. But finally, we get to the biggest case for Steve and Akiko. And that's the episode where Akiko last appeared as a major character, presenting Spelling Bee My Baby. If you didn't notice by now, Toshi and Akiko are Japanese. Stereotypically, Asian families are obsessed with high grades and getting into top colleges. Like, you could probably count on your fingers the amount of Asian characters where they aren't smart or aren't trying to get into college. Like, the only one that really comes to mind for me is Jason from The Good Place. And this whole mindset is enforced by their parents. Stereotypically, I really have no clue how true this is in real life. And this being American dad, they indulge in the stereotype, with Hiko now being a quote-unquote tiger mom. She refuses to let Toshi and his sister do so much as sleep, because sleeping interferes with studying, and she does not have the mind power that Michael Eisner did to suck ideas out of Buckle's mind. She won't even let him go with Steve to get ice cream for like a little break.
They have no time for treats, or games, or bathroom breaks.
Oh, come on, Hiko. Let him have some fun. College is years away.
Ew, but I agree with Francine. Plus, isn't your husband rich or something, Hiko? He made male stripper shoes. Couldn't they just buy a building or bribe the school under the guise of a generous donation? Like most rich people who aren't Felicity Huffman or that lady from Fuller House, don't they do that? Besides, I hate to break it to you, but King of the Hill had a whole episode where Khan gets insecure about his daughter's future because Connie didn't get into a summer academy at Rice University, aka probably the biggest school in Texas, all because she's an overachieving Asian girl with a lot of after-school activities and volunteer hours and awards, and comes from an upper middle class background. Oh, and her grandfather was a general for Laos, so that would have added too, I guess. But Hiko counters.
That attitude is why my children will attend Harvard, while Steve will be lucky to be waitlisted at an online offshore college.
Ugh.
Oh no, Steve will have to go to a public college where they give out tons of scholarships. He won't have to live there if he doesn't want to. And the college also has excellent programs and student deals, all for the same degree. Plus your first 2 years in college are primarily going to be focused on your gen eds anyway. Oh, poor kid. Yeah, if you couldn't guess, I really don't think that, I don't know. Like, I remember when I was in high school, they used to drill us into us that you had to go to a top school, but now that I kind of graduated school, I realized most of that is bullcrap. If you go to a community college, you basically knock out all of your gen eds, and you save thousands. Plus, some of them are now offering, like, dorms, so you could still get the college experience if that's what you want. And I don't say this because I never went to an Ivy. They call Rutgers a public Ivy, even though pretty much everybody in my high school went there. But a lot of cool people went to Rutgers, like Stefan from Vampire Diaries, John DiMaggio, Sebastian Shaw, Elizabeth Warren, I think RBG was a professor, Frank Iero, Ozzie Nelson, Rami Youssef. Wait, what were we talking about? Oh yeah. The point is, depending on your major, it actually might be a lot easier just to stay closer to home, or to stay in state, rather than travel across the country. Like, for me, I want to be an English teacher, and that's why I'm going back to graduate school. And when you become a teacher, you typically get certified at the state level, not the federal, so you only get certified for that one state. And nowadays, many teaching programs want you to start when you're undergrad, not graduate, because it helps you save money and you get into the classroom quicker. So yeah, for something like that, it's easier and cheaper to go to a public school or stay in state. You want to be a lawyer? Same thing, it's easier to stay in state. Plus, depending on where your school is, you might be better. Like, you could get into Dartmouth, which has a business school, but it's in the middle of nowhere, so you'd be better off going to, like, Rutgers Business, which is right next to New York City. And maybe it's not a prestigious school, but it's still a school. Plus, many public schools have programs for people from that state, so you would get a scholarship just for living there. And if schools like you, there's a very high chance they'll offer you a job, especially if you're a student teacher. But this isn't an advertisement for Rutgers, I just like to make a point. But this being American Dad, Francine becomes insecure about Steve's schooling.
We've got to find something you're good at so you can get into a decent college! We need to find out what you excel at!
You're ruining your own sweater.
Even though I'd argue Steve has an impressive resume himself, his father is a CIA agent, he published his own book in high school, his mother was Francine Ling, plus he knows Roger, so I'm sure Roger can pull some strings, plus we know he gets really good grades, so I feel like he'll be good to go in terms of colleges. But Francine notices that every parent who isn't her is preparing their kids, no matter how young.
Bonjour, le papa.
We need her to be trilingual so she stands out from the other applicants.
You gotta start early if your child is gonna be exceptional. It's the only way to get into the Ivies.
Two things. One, is this episode supposed to make fun of parents who worry about their kids getting into colleges? Because it feels way too relatable. And two, wow, maybe a boy named Michael didn't make them feel so out of character and backwards. I mean, in that episode, Roger said they had a whole life plan for Michael, which included going to Dartmouth, which, again, I went there once, and it's a nice school, but it's really rural. Like, I thought Cornell was rural. So I wonder if they have similar aspirations for Libby, like she has to get into an Ivy League school or something. Francine tries to find Steve's special talent, and after much trial and error, discovers it's spelling.
Does anyone know how to spell diarrhea?
Why would you pick that word? It's impossible to spell.
Diarrhea.
Oh my god, you're right!
Yay! English major here. I wish I applied myself more when it came to spelling bees. They had one when I was in elementary school, but I had stage fright, so I did not want to participate, so I purposefully misspelled every single word. But like I said above, Steve is a good writer when he applies himself. Being good at spelling only feels natural. Steve wins the spelling bee at his school, and Francine is excited. In the audience watching was Akiko, who congratulates Steve.
I love watching you spell.
Speaking of spells, I think you just cast one on me.
Oh, chemistry. Is there a chemical formula? I'm terrible at science. Francine says,
My son's gonna win the National Spelling Bee.
That's impossible.
Which, to be fair, I don't think she actually meant. She just said like, oh, I'm so proud of my boy. I know he can reach great heights. Especially since in real life, the National Spelling Bee is only really for middle schoolers. But Hiko doesn't believe in affection like most people. I like that detail. Like how Francine puts her hand on Steve's shoulder and Hiko is like, this is my pet, Akiko.
Steve is gonna be the one who destroys Akiko. Your skin is amazing! I can't tell how old you are!
Fun fact, Hiko in this episode is voiced by Sandra Oh, who also played the super controlling mother in Turning Red. Was this episode inspiration? However, Francine becomes a stage mom, a spelling bee mom, like the opposite of that mother from Aquila and the Bee. Oh my god, they made us watch that after the spelling bee I talked to you guys about, and I hated that movie. It was so boring. And Francine basically becomes Hiko, but more zany.
From now on, your whole life is words.
Hey! That's how you spell that?
Steve has to defeat Akiko, not to get into a good college, but to show up to her mother, no matter what it takes. Make the mistakes. Steve and Akiko both collectively sneak off to the falls to get away from their mothers and meet up at the falls.
Trouble sleeping?
Oh, Akiko! Oh, you scared me. But in a manly way.
Oh, like from the Halloween episode. That's a good callback, and that's really cute.
Ugh, my mom's driving me crazy.
Mine too. But it's nice to have someone who understands what you're going through.
And this is why I feel like they belong together. They understand each other. They both share many of the same interests. They already have people in common like Toshi. They have similar personalities and similar situations, both being the second children. In a way, I feel like they have more in common together than him and Debbie. It was so cute to watch this. Eventually, the pair managed to work themselves up through the Spelling Bee vine and end up as finalists for the National Spelling Bee. Also, I should mention, this is how Akiko was able to do it even though she lives in Virginia.
She's already won at her private school in Maryland.
That seems really expensive. But there's a fly in their soup. Francine, who forbids Steve to see Akiko again, under the pain of, I don't know, she just forbids. Think of something, okay? Really, what's gonna happen?
Did you ever think this girl's just toying with your emotions to distract you from your spelling?
She would never do that.
Her mother would.
You know, I hate to say it, that could have been a good ending. Especially since we never see or hear from Akiko after this episode. Like, what if that's really the twist? Like, she was trying to sabotage Steve, but her mother was the one who made her do it, since their moms were just using each other as weapons.
Her crazy, overbearing mother drove her to it.
Or Akiko is secretly evil deep down. I don't know, but you'll see why I'm doing this soon enough. Steve tells Francine,
"If you won't let me be with Akiko, then I won't even go to the stupid spelling bee."
I mean, he could also go there and purposefully lose. Francine realizes her mistake and allows Steve to go visit Akiko. But at the falls, Akiko isn't there, having left him a note breaking up with her.
She said she had to rethink her priorities, and then I'm not worth her time.
Oh, Steve, that's so crappy of her.
Oh, Steve, that sounds so out of character for her. This act energizes Steve against Akiko, who vows to beat her at spelling. Yay.
Let me out of here!
Not until after the spelling bee tomorrow. My boy's going to a good college and nobody's getting in his way.
Wow, it's kind of dark, huh, Franny? But it makes sense. You're like the only one who goes into the basement. Like, I don't think Stan would go down there. Neither would Haley. Roger, maybe, but he probably wouldn't care. Wow, that's really genius then. Wait, but didn't Stan do that in Con Air, where he trapped Francine in that cage when Jack lied and said she was a spy? If so, good to see they're reusing technology.
And I'm gonna destroy the girl who destroyed me. REVENGE! Revenge, Mother. I spelled revenge.
If you say so, I didn't hear a J.
Unfortunately, Franny's great undoing is giving Akiko a Wii to entertain her, rather than like a sandwich or something.
I'll let you out when Steve's a national champion. Here's a Nintendo to keep you busy.
My mother says video games are bad for you.
I feel like you'd still like video games, I'm sorry. Akiko's cousin, who also runs Nintendo. Seriously, Hiko? Why are you worried? You have connections. Anyway, he is able to pinpoint her location, which makes me wonder if Hiko knew this going in. Like, if I just type in my name, they'll find me, or if it was a happy coincidence. Also, I was curious, so I looked it up. Nobu Malibu does not run Nintendo, but it's the name of a really good restaurant in Malibu, which is run by Iron Chef's Nobu Matsuhisa. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. However, I will warn you, it is quite pricey. A really pricey inside joke. Hiko frees Akiko, since unlike Toshi, the women in his family enjoy indulging in stereotypes.
Ninja! Ninja!
And she gets Akiko to nationals lickety-split.
Going twice, and...
We have 20 minutes to get you to nationals.
Wow, 20 minutes? You basically teleported. Like, I've seen DC traffic, that's crazy. Unfortunately, Steve still thinks that Akiko broke up with him to throw him off his game, and won't listen to reason.
I don't want to hear your lame excuses. I don't want to look at your stupid face.
Fine. Forget it, jerk. I'm taking you down.
So, ooh, the fight is on. Both on stage and off stage.
This is a fight to the death. There's no way you can beat me.
Really? What is that gonna prove? They hash it out for presumably hours. Really, how long is the National Spelling Bee? When we did it, it was only 2 of the grades, so maybe like 8 classes, and they only had like 2 reps for each class, so like an hour and a half tops. But then the finale comes.
It's down to 2 kids, and one of them is Steve.
Is the other one a Japanese girl?
Oh, yeah.
Baba!
I answered the question.
Yeah, cut him some slack. He was answering the question. It's hard to be Baba. It's down to Akiko and Steve, because of course it is. This episode is about them, their main characters. And Akiko misspells her word. Also, Steve can win.
ChrysanthiMum. Chrysanthemum.
That is incorrect.
BTW, that's one of the unofficial national flowers of Japan, but I think I know another reason why. Since she's such an overachiever, she could probably just try again next year, or find some other activity to excel in. Besides, second place at the national level, that's like really good, and I'm sure most colleges would agree.
You've disgraced yourself and your family. When I think back to all the times I was too lenient with you, the time I let you pet that dog, well, those luxuries are over!
Oh, I guess Hiko didn't get the message. Steve feels bad for Akiko and deliberately misspells his own word, which is also a Chekhov's gun and a callback.
The word was diarrhea. You spelled diary of a mad black woman.
Steve has diarrhea! Steve has diarrhea!
Ew. Francine is perplexed why he's giving up this honor, so Steve explains.
Akiko needs this more than I do. Her mom will hate her if she loses. But you love me no matter what.
Aw, that's such a sweet mindset to have, you naive fool.
I wrote the note and kidnapped Akiko.
You what?
I put her in a cage.
Mom, how could you? I was so mean to her.
How could you? Did you just pop out of her thing? Like, ew. She's done crazier stuff, Steven. This is the same lady who told you that you and your sister ruined her body with your pregnancies, and you have to overachieve to make up for it. Steve and Akiko spend hours upon hours misspelling their words. That way neither can win.
Okay, Steve, the word was dog, and you spelled the entire Arrested Development song Mr. Wendell. So, on to Akiko.
Because the judges never saw Akila in the B. Lucky.
It's becoming very clear to me that I won't be making my date tonight. We recently started... So that would have been fun.
Why not just call it a tie and go home? And Francine gives up her aspirations for Steve to get into college, while Hiko, I guess she moved to Canada and did not use her crazy panda powers to stop 9/11. I mean, how could a movie that takes place a year after such a major event and in a totally different country on top of that, and is meant to appeal to families, forget to include it? But anyway, that was Akiko Yoshida, and that's why I think she belongs with Steve. They're adorable together, they get along pretty well, and Steve always wanted what was best for her, and Akiko respected that. However, they do have some problems. Like, she can be a character who primarily revolves around her brother, or that she got aged up with no explanation, or Doug is honestly kinda creepy, and I'm guessing the main reason she hasn't returned is either her voice actress is busy, or TBS basically flanderized Steve as being in the closet and wanting to bone Snot. But they don't have to bring her back to date Steve, just bring her back to bring her back. Hideki is basically a character in his own right, why not Akiko? Anyhow, bye!